Hey there, my name's Louie, and I'm one of the creators of Eat This Much. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use our app to automate a lot of the work that goes into planning an effective diet. At around 14 minutes, this is a pretty comprehensive look at every aspect of the app. But if you need help with something specific, check out the description to jump to the relevant section of the video. In case you're not familiar with it yet, check out our website at eatthismuch.com. It has all the features of the app, and you can try it without signing up. Basically, our app is like a calorie tracker combined with a meal planner, and you can automatically generate your future plans to match your nutrition targets. The idea is that as long as you just follow the plans, you don't have to do any tracking at all, which is why our tagline is put your diet on autopilot. I'm just going to speed through the rest of the sign up process real quick. We ask you some things about your physical profile and what kinds of foods you want to eat, and then we estimate your nutrition targets, which you're free to customize if you like. Everything in the sign up can be changed later, so there's no pressure to get it right the first time. And we're finished. So the first thing you're going to want to do is generate a meal plan. Real quick, I'm going to set it to 4 meals and then hit regenerate. It brings up a loading bar, then you got to wait a couple seconds. And there you go. It spits out a meal plan that roughly matches your nutrition targets, and you can double check by expanding your current plan's nutrition and comparing it to your current set of targets. The first nutrition profile that you make is right here, and it's named the usual by default. If you tap the name, you can change the nutrition profile or create new ones, like one for your workout day and one for your rest day. We'll come back to that in a second. So anyways, here's my first meal plan. You can regenerate as many times as you want, and I'll give you a random set of meals every time. Maybe you don't want to regenerate the whole plan though, and just a specific meal or a specific food. You can delete a food by swiping left and tapping the X, or you can re-randomize a food or entire meal by swiping to the right. Every time you regenerate something, the planner will try to find something that fills up any gaps that there might be in the nutrition of your meal plans. To show you what I mean, here I have a 430 calorie breakfast and a 460 calorie lunch. Now I delete this food with 271 calories from the breakfast. If I regenerate the lunch, it's going to use up all of the available nutrition targets when I find a new meal. As you can see, the lunch is now about 720, 730 calories. So basically, every time you reshuffle a meal, the generator tries to autocomplete whatever nutrition you're missing. You can also kind of use this trick to control the size of your meals. The same thing works if you move foods between meals, which you can do by tapping and holding, and then dragging to the meal that you want it to go to. Then regenerate the meal, and it'll use up however many calories are available to it. The other thing to know about the foods is that if you tap on a row, it'll bring up a details page, where you can see the recipes, ingredients, and directions, and more nutrition details. Going across the top, tapping the amount lets me change how much of the food there is. Tapping the heart adds it to my favorites list, which makes it easier to find later and makes it show up slightly more often in my meal plans. Tapping the shuffle button will shuffle the food for another one with similar nutrition. Tapping recur lets me set the food to recur, and setting recurring foods is actually the main way to control variety in the meal plans. That's because you can set foods to recur in a specific meal either all the time or just more often. I'll go more in depth into this later in the video. The last button here is to block a food. You can tap this and it won't immediately remove the food, but the generator should never suggest it again automatically. So you should do this for foods that you never want to see again. You'll want to use all these buttons to train the planner to only suggest foods and recipes that you like. One strategy is to just keep regenerating the plans, skim through the foods while favoriting and recurring things you do like, and blocking things that you don't. And then just keep repeating this until it consistently shows you only things that you do like. One more really useful feature here is the ability to personalize recipes. If you tap the personalize button, you can make whatever modifications to the recipe you want, including the ingredients and directions. If you personalize a recipe, it'll automatically calculate the nutrition, and the new version of the recipe will automatically replace the original version whenever you regenerate a meal plan. This is really powerful if you want to substitute certain ingredients and recipes that are already in our database. Now let's go back to the planner view. The last major thing I want to customize are the meal types. So if you tap a meal's name, you can edit the meal's options or create new meal types. To demonstrate, I'm going to create a new meal type and call it fast breakfast. It's going to be a tiny meal, not have much cook time, just use breakfast foods, and be just for one person. If you add a bunch of recurring foods to a meal, you can set it to also only use the recurring foods from the generator, and that's how you get complete control over what foods the generator uses. But since I don't have any recurring foods added yet, I'm just going to leave that off for now. Just a quick note about scaling a meal up for multiple people. What this does is just scale up the number of ingredients by a certain amount when you view the recipe or when ingredients are added to your grocery list. We don't have options yet for making meal plans that hit different nutrition targets for different people at the same time, but this is something that we're working on and adding in the future. So in the meantime, this is mostly useful if you just want to hit your own nutrition targets while making sure that your significant other or kids have something to eat too. Alright, so we save that, go back, and if we regenerate the plans, the new meal should have foods that fit those cook time settings. Also worth mentioning, setting the size on the meals is useful for setting an approximate size when you regenerate the entire plan or when you use the weekly planner. And because my breakfast is set to be tiny, it's a smaller meal right now, but as we showed before, when you regenerate the meal directly, the size is determined by what nutrients are needed in your plan to fit your targets. Finally, I'm going to create 2 nutrition profiles for myself and demonstrate what recurring foods do really quickly. So I'm going to edit the usual and change it to my workout day profile with a bit more calories since I'm going to be moving around a lot on my workout days. And I'm going to create a rest day profile that has fewer calories. Also want to emphasize that you should try nutrition calculators on other sites also, and find one that suits you best, and then just plug their recommendations into our app. Our recommendations are pretty relaxed on what constraints they suggest because that works better for our algorithms. But again, just like any nutrition calculator, it's going to be an estimation based on a tiny amount of your personal info. So it's always good to get a few estimations and experiment with your nutrition targets until you find out what works best for you. So I can switch between these profiles and generate a meal plan for each day. Multiple nutrition profiles are especially useful with the diet calendar, which you can unlock by supporting the app as a subscriber. But having multiple nutrition profiles with a free account is still useful for when you just want to mock up a few different meal plans. I'll go a bit into the diet calendar and subscriber features in a minute. Next, I'm going to demonstrate recurring foods really quick. So I'm going to add this oatmeal recipe that I like to my fast breakfast and set it to recur. Here we go. I just have to tap the meal that I want to add to, and I'm going to choose my fast breakfast, and then tap the food and set it to recur. I want it to recur always because I typically eat the same thing for breakfast every day anyways, and then save it. And down at the bottom you can see where your recurring foods are in each meal, and oatmeal is by itself because it's the first one I've added so far. Now I go back, I can regenerate this meal, and the oatmeal recipe will show up every time. The cool thing is, the generator will make sure the other foods are still chosen to match my nutrition targets. One last cool thing I want to point out is that I can add what I eat throughout the day. When I refresh the last meal, it comes up with something that fills out whatever nutrients I'm missing. Let's say I just ate McDonald's cheeseburgers for every meal. So I add these and delete these. And then I can regenerate the last meal, and it will come up with suggestions that complete my nutrition targets for that day. Kind of like an autocomplete for my diet. One thing we learned while we were building the app and using it and talking to the people that use it is that most people tend to consistently eat the same 15 to 20 things every week and then just rotate between them and occasionally eat something new. We make it possible to do this in the planner using the recurring foods feature. If we jump over to my own account really quickly, you can see that each meal has these foods marked as recurring foods. If we go into the More menu to look real quick, you can see that I've picked quite a few for each meal. I've set a couple meals to only use the recurring foods. If a meal plan has a lot of foods that I'm already used to eating, it's typically much easier to follow and not get lazy about wanting to cook something, and this way it's always foods that I know I like, just portioned out for me so I don't have to think twice about eating them. Anyways, that covers most of the features of the free planner. Now I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my account to show you what that's like. Subscriber page has some info on what you get as a subscriber. And if it looks like something you want, we ask for a little more info that we just need for the weekly planner. First is the grocery shopping day. I typically do my shopping on Saturday, and what this does is the planner will automatically generate your next week's meal plans the day before your grocery shopping day. So it'll send me the new plans on Friday with a notification letting me know that the plans are ready. Then the plans themselves actually start the day after on Sunday. So on Friday I can skim through them, make edits, and decide what I want to eat before doing the grocery shopping, then go grocery shopping on Saturday, and then follow those meal plans from Sunday until the next Saturday, when I'll have to go grocery shopping again. Next up is the leftovers function, which will automatically give me some leftovers from one day going into the next day. So here I can select that the dinner will always give me some leftovers in my next day's lunch, just in case I want the convenience of grabbing some leftovers out of the fridge instead of cooking something. With that filled out, I just have to confirm my subscription, and there we go. It'll show me a quick walkthrough of the weekly planner features, but I'm going to skip that because I'm going to talk about it anyways. And you can see the progress for each day as it's generating. Usually it takes about a minute, but I can speed through that for this video. And there we go. I can skim through them with the arrows on the top, or tap the date itself to pick a meal plan from the calendar. The other main difference to the planner on the subscriber account is that if I tap the regenerate button, I can choose to regenerate just the current day or the next couple weeks. Before we finish the walkthrough for the planner, I'm just going to run through some of the other screens really quick. The next meal screen shows you the next upcoming meal, probably what you'd expect. And this basically just lets me see the meals one at a time and track them by saying I ate this, or add new foods to the meal in case I ate something else. If you're trying to follow the meal plans closely, this is useful to see how good of a job you're doing, and you can see the tracked calories at the top of the screen. Next up is the grocery screen, one of the main features that gets unlocked by supporting the app as a subscriber. One thing to note is that when the planner automatically generates your weekly plans before your grocery shopping day, it will automatically rebuild your grocery list to match that week. But if after the plans are generated, you skim through the plans and make any changes, you need to remember to resync the list to match the changes. So as you go grocery shopping, you can swipe things over the pantry to indicate that you purchased them. Or if you just bought everything, you can move it all at once with this button at the top. And if we switch the pantry screen at the top, you can see a list of what you own. If you want to add ingredients that you already own, you can use the search at the top of the screen, and the planner will use them up with some priority and will avoid adding duplicate items to the grocery list. We don't yet have options to only use up what you have in your pantry, but that's something we're working on adding in a future release. In the More menu, there are a couple other important views. Most of these are just things that you set up while creating your account, but you can edit them here if you want, like your weight, your user profile, and your food preferences. The recurring foods screen will give you an overview of what you've added to recur in each meal. You can see that I've added quite a few here just to get the plans consistently likable. Going back, the other major screen you'll most definitely want to make changes to as a subscriber is the weekly layout. Here I can set up different nutrition profiles and different meal types for each day of the week. Here I have some workout days and rest days, and an extra post-workout meal on my workout days, and a pancake breakfast every Sunday. This screen really defines the structure of my meal plans, and you can add more meals or tap and hold to drag meals around to the different days. It's important to note that making changes here won't immediately change what my meal plans look like, and changes will only take place after I go back to the planner and regenerate the whole week, or just wait until the next week. Here I can edit my leftovers preferences if I want. Down here I can see a list of the custom foods and recipes I've made or make new ones. The difference between a custom food and a custom recipe is that with the custom food, you just enter the nutrition values directly, whereas with a custom recipe, the nutrition is automatically calculated based on the ingredients. You can make as many custom foods and recipes that you want, but one thing to note is that custom recipes will be automatically included by the planner, but custom foods will not. You can, however, force the generator to use a basic custom food by setting it as a recurring food or as the only ingredient inside of a custom recipe. Going back, you can see your saved meal plans here. From the planner screen, you can save specific meal plans in case you want to load them up into other days on the calendar. You can do this from the folder icon in the top left of the planner. Here's your account info in case you want to change your email or password. A page of results if you want to see some graphs of your nutrition intake over time with different nutrients. And finally, our help and walkthrough sections at the bottom. And that wraps up my tour of the Eat This Much app. I hope you learned a lot about how you can use our tools to streamline your diet. If you have any questions or feedback, please check out our FAQ in the help section or at help.eatthismuch.com or shoot us an email at contact@eatthismuch.com.